All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Peace and blessings, family. This is Brother Jabar, National Youth Commission co-chair of NCOBRA, National Coalition for Blacks for Reparations in America, here with Lauren Elaine, one of the NCOBRA members, and we are so excited during this coronavirus pandemic to have the opportunity to talk with you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And for all intents and purposes, I usually go by Sister Lilly or Lilly X. I should have disclosed before.
Wonderful. Sister Lilly X. I like Lilly X. We're gonna go with that one.
Okay.
Good luck. So where you at on the planet, Sister Lilly X?
I am in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Everything is big in Texas. I'm familiar.
Yes, that is very true.
So it's today is what, the 13th of April. We're a number of weeks into this coronavirus pandemic. We've been told to stay in the house, trying to keep healthy, trying to maintain the peace. How were things in Dallas for you all?
Things in Dallas are, pretty much the same everywhere else. We're on a shelter-in-place lockdown until they originally said April 30th, but now that's been extended to May 20th. But this week, our governor also said that he, for economic reasons and business reasons, wants to stop the shelter in place after May 20th, and that he's gonna do an executive order to do that. So we'll see. Most people that I've talked to say that they want us to be as safe and healthy as possible. So if that means that we have to stay shelter in place for a little bit longer to avoid, something super crazy or even more long-term down the line, then they're willing to do that. Because I know I'm not trying to be forced into a vaccine or nothing like that. So I'm like, I want everybody to do their part so that we can kind of move past this stage.
Certainly. We are in America. America is all about the money. This country was founded on slave labor. Again, definitely all about the money. I like that superhero look that you got there, and it's going to take some superhero powers that you just flashed on the screen to overcome the situation that we're in. Again, we're talking about reparations. It is 2020. 2019 marked the 400th year of descendants of enslaved Africans being here in the United States. 2019, we had the 30th annual convention in Detroit, Michigan. That's where we had the opportunity to meet. So tell the world, how you found out about NCOBRA.
Okay, well, yeah, I found NCOBRA, I guess, through my own individual research about reparations and how, I, as a Black descendant of slaves, could, find social repair, financial repair for the harms that have been done to not just myself, but my ancestors, my people that are still living, and my, kindred around the world. So that's kind of like what started my journey, because I just knew something needed to be done, and I knew that reparations had happened for other people groups in various forms, such as the Jews after the Holocaust, Native Americans, even though we can get into the semantics around that and the fairness around the reparations that were given to them. But in its essence, Native Americans got a form of reparations. Even when we talk about Japanese Americans, they too receive reparations for the Japanese internment camps that the United States had at one point. So I just always had a big question mark over my head. Why is the people group that endured one of the most severe forms of torture in, the history of the world, why are we not receiving reparations, and why are people kind of skirting the question? Why is it taboo to talk about Black descendants of slaves specifically getting reparations here in America? So that's what led me to my research, and I knew that I had heard of NCOBRA, and some members lived here in Dallas. I had never been able to connect with them yet, but I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna assume they're gonna be at the convening So I'm gonna just show up to Detroit and show up to the convening, and the rest was history. And then also, I had never gotten a chance to hear Minister Louis Farrakhan speak in person, and I wanted that opportunity as well. So, and I knew he was the keynote for the convention. So that's how I got directly connected to NCOBRA. But I feel that I was born to liberate my people, and liberation has been my life's goal. So it's a perfect fit.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing. So tell us about your experience in Detroit at your first convention, as well as your first experience of hearing the keynote speaker, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
My experience in Detroit was a great one. Also, because it was my first time in Detroit. My people are originally from the South and by way of the fourth migration in Chicago, but I had never been to Detroit nonetheless. And so being there and just hearing the conversation and hearing from elders, and even meeting a few other young people that were at the conference, it really kind of just ignited something in me, and kind of like a light bulb went off that this can happen. Intergenerational organizing can happen, and we're gonna get our reparations. I mean, I feel like I became more of an advocate leaving the conference and convening after I was just educated, you know, and there wasn't any shame in being educated. You know, it was a learning experience for everyone, even those who are on NCOBRA's legislative commission. I thought that they did a great job, kind of, for those of us who are first timers hearing this information, hearing about HR 40, you know, what is that? They did a very great job of kind of thoroughly explaining that to the young people, but also to older members and people who may not really understand like where we were in 2019, and then even where we're trying to go and take it 2020 and beyond. So I thought the convening itself was very well done, and that's the reason I'm a member of NCOBRA, and I'm trying to work myself into the national leadership structure and things like that. But also hearing Minister Louis Farrakhan speak, as a pro-Black woman, I'm not affiliated with the Nation of Islam or Fruit of Islam, but I do know the ministry. I do have friends that are associated, even here in Dallas. We have people like Brother Ben X. He's a very powerful social media influencer that I know in NCOBRA we're trying to partner with for the work that we do. But I've been very aware of the movement and work that's been going on. And so it was very nice to hear the minister speak for myself, so that I could also formulate my own opinion and relationship with him and the nation and all of those other things. I think a lot of times one deficit as a people is that we will kind of just take information that's given to us and take it as true, even when it's things that are said about our people. Even if we know that there have been propaganda campaigns against our most powerful and influential leaders, you know, we still just oftentimes take the bait, want to kind of shame and scrutinize our own people more so than we do some of these other huge people, non-melanated folk. So that's also was kind of also a reason that I really just wanted to hear him speak for myself. And I was once again very inspired because he wasn't saying anything that I didn't feel directly applied to all of us as people. I mean, I consider myself a very modest young lady, but even just to see the sisters of the nation and be in their presence and their atmosphere, but then also see how strong they are when, you know, the safety and security measures that the nation takes. It was just really empowering to see that we can unify, we can do this. You know, young people can be at the forefront, and that there are elders like Minister Louis Farrakhan who are leading that way. He's leading that example for organizations like NCOBRA to say, this is how you pass the torch, you know, this is how you keep the movement going. So.
Yeah, he talked a lot about young people, as a matter of fact. I've told the NCOBRA leadership that we really need to review that lecture that he did, a very rich lecture that he gave. But a part of his lecture was really talking about the need to push our young people forward, to have young people surrounding us, to have young people in the organizations. And so it's a blessing and an honor, you know, to be able to have this opportunity to dialogue with you, to see you growing into the leadership, and to see you supporting the reparations movement. There's a lot of things that young people and all people can be doing other than the diligent, difficult, challenging work of demanding justice for our people.
Right.
So again, this is Brother Jabar, National Co-Chair of the Youth Commission for NCOBRA, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, here with one of the Youth Commission members, Sister Lilly X. We're very excited to have you on. Young people have shared different things, and people in general have shared different thoughts about how reparations should be paid. Should it be a cash check? Should it be 40 acres and a mule? Should it be, you know, education? A lot of people have a different perspectives. So share what your perspective is and what you think reparations looks like for you.
Well, I don't think we should limit ourselves. I think we should go for every avenue and way and nook and cranny that is going to be allotted to us to receive payment, because we already know that the payment is well into the trillions. You know, the number even goes beyond the $10 trillion, you know. I'm like, I have a hard time saying that because it's hard to even like fathom and imagine that type of money and how we would receive that and what form it would come in. I think it definitely starts with land. That's why I think what NCOBRA is doing so well, and why I know we are really trying to expand our movement, is the public education aspect, because there's 5 injury areas and then there's 5 areas of repair that we focus on directly. And I think we will definitely get the most amount of resources and reparations possible if we go after reparations in each of those 5 injury and repair areas. So that way we won't really, I feel like we won't be leaving any stone unturned. You know, I feel grateful to be on this side of the legacy where I'm kind of getting past the torch, getting past the research. You know, I feel like around reparations, a lot of the heavy lifting has been done, which is why I get a little offended when people, especially other Pan-African Black people, say that we can't get reparations, you know, or that it's so far-fetched of an idea, or we would never get a cash check, or we would never get this and that. It's like, even before, you know, physical formations of groups like NCOBRA or ADOS or NARC, you know, even before those physical groups were founded, I mean, there were people strategizing and finding ways to repair the harm that had been done during, you know, post emancipation and things like that, and even pre-emancipation. So I think we get stuck in a certain time period, so we don't really remember, you know, the Black Wall Streets and the things that we did for ourselves. We did repair for ourselves because there was a time in history when we weren't going to get anything. Like, it wasn't even the option to get anything from the government, medically, financially, anything like that. So I mean, I know we're magical, but I'm preaching to the choir if I say it to you. But I think that because we have that magic in us and we know what we've done before, having almost nothing and having even more odds against us than we do now, I think there is no limit to what we can get. And I think we need to focus on land, food, desert repair, healthcare repair, things like that. But moving into the future, we cannot get left behind in the technological aspect. You know, we need to be on the forefront of these vaccines that are being made, this facial recognition or whatever, these smartphones and technology, you know, they're basically going to be the new way that we socialize ourselves and track ourselves. Like, we need to have direct influence in that. And some form of reparations for us needs to be tied to that industry moving forward. I know that there are educational institutions I think have tried to do it the best. We've seen that they have given like tuition breaks, reimbursements, things like that. I think Georgetown, there was a college in Pennsylvania, I believe, that also had a Black student union that asked the president, you know, are you going to subsidize all of the Black descendants of slaves' tuition? And he was like, yes, that's the least that we could do. So, and that just took an ask, you know, they really didn't have to do a big campaign about that. But I think there are opportunities for us to do big campaigns, bigger campaigns, and lowest hanging fruit would be force these educational institutions to subsidize or give basically free education to all African American descendants of slaves. But yeah, I don't think we're really limited in our options. So that's why it's always hard for me to answer that question, because I think we should get reparations in every category possible.
I certainly agree. Thank you for that answer. Donald Trump, 45th president of the United States, surprisingly to many, said that, you know, African Americans built this country, which is very true. Built the Capitol, we built the White House, we laid the railroad tracks, we cut down the trees in which now are cities, the whole Southern economy, in which, you know, clothes, food, and shelter were developed by enslaved Africans. You know, he again, surprisingly, you know, admitted that. So what do you say to those people who say, you know, I don't think they should get reparations. I don't think those people should get reparations. And there's nobody here that was enslaved, and there's nobody here that owned slaves. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a cop-out when people say it wasn't us. I mean, yes, it wasn't you, but it was your ancestors. Like, I could say the same thing. It's not me. I'm not currently enslaved in the physical sense of the form, but my people were, and I'm a descendant of that and that legacy and the burdens that that comes with. On the flip side, a lot of people are benefits of the legacy and privilege that came from slave owners and the, you know, people who built the White House and all these other institutions that you named before. So I think that that's just kind of a very stupid, for lack of a better term, I think that's just a very stupid opinion. And I think that just means that when people say that, I think that in their heart of hearts, they know how much repair is needed and how much we are deserved, because they know how much wealth they are sitting on. And they just know that they would have to sacrifice. And I think that that really is where the conversation of reparations for Black descendants of slaves comes into place. I think that's the elephant in the room, is that no one wants to talk about the economic adjustments, the social economic adjustments that are going to have to happen in order for reparations or any form of repair for Black descendants of slaves to be successful. Because it just, I mean, I see now, like in this crisis, we're pulling money out of magical places. But yeah, there was a meme there was a meme the other day that was like somebody like giving a side eye, and they were like how Black people are looking at the US government when they said they couldn't find money for reparations, but we found all this money for a crisis and Corona. But I think, yeah, we have to be assertive. You know, it's not going to be given to us. And as we see, and that's why people will find any excuse under the sun, even the most absurd ones, to not give it to us. So if we don't band together and unify as a people and say, this is what we are deserved, this is what we are owed, this is how we are coming for it, and we want it in the form of a check and all these other different things, you know, if we don't assert ourselves in that way, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, I think we just have to get a little stronger in our ask. I do community like advocacy and lobbying, and I know NCOBRA lobbies, the Legislative Commission and things like that. And one big thing that you learn as a successful lobbyist is you always leave an ask. You know, you always have an ask. And I really didn't hear that much of an ask at the hearing that happened, the HR 40 hearing. I mean, I heard them say that the ask was like to create a study and all of that, but okay, like in my mind, I'm like, America's gonna do the least that they have to. So they're gonna create the study, they're gonna find the research, try to take like 5 to 10 years to do the research, then try to pass out the reparations the next decade. Like, you know, if we don't keep an eye on it and keep steady and say, no, the commission should only be formed for a year or two. And after that, all these groups that are doing the work now, such as NCOBRA, NARC, et cetera, et cetera. Even the ACLU has been helping out for reparations. I didn't even think that was, I used to work for the ACLU. I didn't even know that was in our repertoire to fight for reparations. But, you know, like, we're seeing the groups that have resources and what they can do to make this a reality. And I think that we just need to focus on strengthening those and doing that quickly, not waiting for anybody else to do it, but doing it ourselves and doing it quickly if we really want it to happen. Otherwise, people are going to keep saying exactly what you said.
And so, young adults like yourselves, we're here again. We're not locked up, but we're kind of locked into a degree. A lot of the terrain, a lot of the environment, a lot of society has changed due to the coronavirus pandemic that's going on. People are not gathering. We did attend the 30th annual convention last year in Detroit. This year was scheduled to be in Selma, Alabama. It has been postponed, and it looks like we're going to be having an online convention. And so what do you say to the young people, to the young adults that have a lot of other things going on, a lot of other interests? What do you say to them to get them to come to the convention, to be a part of this work? It's not a wave of the wand and we get reparations. It's WORK. What do you say to young people and how to get them involved in this work, the reparations work, and how to get them to attend the upcoming convention?
Well, I would tell them that, I mean, the revolution can be TikToked if they want it to be. Like, if that's where the platform we have to take it to, we can figure that out. But I mean, it's like you said, it's going to take some work. It's going to take more than immediate gratification. You know, it's not going to be the most entertaining or exciting thing, you know, because like we said, a lot of the systems that we participate in were never meant for the benefit of Black Americans, Black descendants of slaves. You know, it was never meant for that. So when we are engaging in these platforms, if we're not using them strategically, then we're using them at a disadvantage, not just to ourselves, but our people group as a whole. And I think I would also say that, you know, you're not in school right now, so do some self-education. Come get with a group like NCOBRA to learn specifically what reparations mean, how they can happen, why it's important to you. You know, I hear all these young kids nowadays talking about getting the bag, getting to the bag. Reparations is the biggest bag you could possibly get right now. Like I said, we are talking 10 to 16 trillion dollars that is owed. And even if we only see a quarter of that money as a people, still, that's life-changing for all of us. So I just think that they need to, and I'm speaking to, because I still consider myself a young people. I heard that youth, that age group goes up to 35 now. So I think that we need to be very aware of, you know, what we are doing, how we're contributing to society, and not just thinking that, you know, life is frivolous, or that we get more than one life, that, you know, life is literally these video games that we like to play, because it's not. One thing that I guess has really been breaking my heart, because I'm an educator as well, has just been seeing, I guess, kind of the like devaluation of life for kind of this generation that's here now. I don't know if it's Generation Z. I think they might be called something else, because Gen Zers are trying to distance themselves from some of these newer kids that are coming in, just like millennials are trying to distance ourselves from them. But we shouldn't be doing that. We all should be like trying to work together and lift each other up and support each other through the good and the bad. You know, every generation has their positives and they also have their negatives. And so I think with this generation that's under me, millennials and under, that I think that we just need to get a lot more strategic about what our purpose is here on this earth. And a lot of that means that we're gonna have to turn inward and let go of the external distractions. You know, and I think once a lot of people can start answering that question of like, why am I here? What is my purpose on an inward level? I mean, even just instinctually, I'm like, when I tap into my ancestors, so like even over here, like I have my altar. The first thing I did when I got my own space was form some form of an altar, even just to remember my mother and my grandmother on a daily basis. You know, my mother is still living, thank the Lord, but I still just need that when I can't physically be with her, I just go to my altar, I light my incense, I light my candles, I have her pictures, you know, and I just resonate her spirit, you know, in this space when I need some form of guidance and I can't get to her directly. I do that. I believe that same energy can be channeled directly over to our ancestors, you know, and I don't think we talk to our ancestors enough. Another funny meme I saw recently was like, y'all talk to that white Jesus more than you do your own ancestors. If Black Panther taught you anything, it's how to contact your ancestors on the ancestral plane. And that's very true. Like I love Black Panther, obviously, but I think that was like a very important message that I really hope people didn't miss. And so I think in this time of isolation and having to educate ourselves and educate our own children, I know you were talking about that, homeschooling your own children. That's what we got to do. We got to tap into, why are we here? What is my role in reparations? And that's the best that I think we can do as a people right now.
Sister Lilly X, man, we appreciate your time. It's been a blessing to get some insight from you. We do have our national convention, 31st annual coming up. Go to NCOBRA online, NCOBRA.online.org for more information. That's NCOBRAonline.org. I am Brother Jabar, National Co-Chair of the Youth Commission, and we are pushing forward. We're not going to let the coronavirus, we're not going to let the 45th president, the 46th, 7th, or 8th, or anybody else stop us from getting what we are due. And we are due, you said, over 10 to 16 trillion. And so you said we need to get to the bag. That's how the youngest like to talk. We need to get to the bag, the BAG. Well, we getting to the bag. So I thank you. God bless you. God keep you. And Lord willing, we'll be talking real soon. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.